Alright, well thank you for calling Meyer Hatchery. Have a great day. Oh, hi there. This is Tom from customer service at Meyer Hatchery. You know, we like to do these little videos, these little advice videos, tackling topics of the most commonly asked questions. This time of year, one of the most common questions is, how do I get started with hatching eggs? Alright gang, here we go. What I want to do is remind you that with hatching, Mother Nature is always in charge of the entire operation. So instead of being engineers, we're more like bystanders. We're really watching the creation of life, so you have to remember that. So hatching eggs, if you talk to anybody who hatches them, there's a lot of variables that are involved. Luckily, we've got some steps, some guidelines, and a lot of information linked on our website, meyerhatchery.com. Check that out. There's a ton of information available there for anybody that wants to read through some information. But I'm going to take a few minutes and kind of talk on just the basic getting started tips that you're going to need to know. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we want to talk about is incubators. Okay gang, here's a few tips for shopping for your home incubator. The first thing that you want to consider is how many eggs is it that you want to do. This is going to help you determine and pick out the model that you want, and we've got a ton of them available on meyerhatchery.com, along with our hatching egg inventory. Be sure to check that out too. Alright, after you've decided how many eggs it is that you want to start with, consider this. Most of your basic models are going to have a switch that controls your heat source and possibly a way to control the humidity pan. But beyond that, consider a few other options that other models are going to offer. For example, a fan for circulated air. There's the auto egg turner, which is a huge benefit if you don't want to turn the eggs by hand all the time. The third thing that a lot of them come with is a digital display. Number one, it's going to help you keep easy track of your temperature and humidity, but it also sometimes has super cool things like a countdown to the hatch day and things like that. So keep those things in mind when selecting a model. Now, once you've picked out a model, you have to pick out a space to put it, because hatching is a 21-day process game. So you want the incubator set up in an area that is basically tamper-proof. You don't want it disturbed by small children, household pets, things like this. Set it somewhere that's climate controlled, free of drafts, all that good stuff. Somewhere where you can keep an eye on it, but somewhere that's not right in the middle of all your family traffic. So keep that in mind. Now, once you've selected an area that's going to be good for your incubator and you've selected your incubator model, get it there, set it up. Now, before incubation, this is so important. Turn that incubator on, let it fire up for 24 hours before you put any eggs in it. This is really important because it helps the incubator turn on, come to temperature, and gets the environment inside that incubator set, stable, and ready for your incubation process. So the next step of the hatch is basically setting the environment inside your incubator. So you want to turn that on and make sure that everything's up and running accurately. Remember this, when you're selecting a model of incubator, pick one that has very accurate temperature and humidity readouts. It's going to save you a whole world of headaches. Alright gang, so here's a few tips on setting the temperature on your incubator. For your at-home incubators, there are two different kinds that they sell that are on the market. There is the still air incubator, which basically means there's no fan attached to the unit. And then there's a forced air incubator, which means it does have a fan that's going to operate. The temperature settings for both of those will be slightly different. For a still air incubator, one that has no fan, your temperature is going to be at 100 to 101 degrees. Set it there. For a forced air incubator, your temperature will be slightly lower at 99.5 degrees. Set it there. Alright, now on the last 3 days of the hatch, there is a change in the settings on your humidity. So check this out gang. On the last 3 days, for the first 18 days of your hatch, your humidity should be set between 45 and 50% on any incubator. Then on the last 3 days of the hatch, you want to increase that to 65 to 70%. That's just on the last 3 days of the hatch game. So those are some quick tips to getting your environment set up for the big hatch that you're planning. So the final step is actually the incubation process itself. Now gang, before we get started, I want to mention this. Please don't take freshly shipped eggs and put them directly in the incubator. So if you get a box of eggs, take them and let them get to room temperature for 24 hours before putting them into the incubator. This will prevent premature cracking of an eggshell or other hatching issues that you could run into. So again, just let them get to room temperature for a day before putting them into the incubator if they've just arrived. Now, if they've arrived and you're not ready to hatch just yet, keep this little tip in mind. You can hold those eggs for up to 10 days before incubating, and they'll still be okay. Now, once we get into the incubation process, here's something to keep in mind. If your incubator does not have an auto egg turner, you gotta rotate your eggs yourself, and that needs to be done every 8 hours, end to end. So one good piece of advice, just to help you keep track of which eggs you've turned, is take a Sharpie marker or some kind of a soft felt marker and put a tiny X on one of the ends of your eggs. This will help keep track of which ones you moved and which ones you haven't. And that's every 8 hours, gang, until we get to the last 3 days of the hatch. On those last 3 days, I don't want you to mess with the eggs. You have to do that humidity adjustment, but that's all I want you to do. At that point in time, we all have to let Mother Nature do her thing and let nature take its course. Alright everybody, I hope these tips have been super helpful for you. I hope I haven't rambled too much, but given you some good advice on getting started with hatching eggs and the entire process. It's supposed to be fun, and it is really watching the miracle of life unfold right in front of your eyes. And that's one of the great things about being in the poultry hobby. Alright everybody, from Meyer Hatchery, from Customer Service, I'm Tom, telling all of you, enjoy yourself, take care.